All right, that's a background to our discussion again. Now, we talked about this earlier on, but we're moving ahead, bringing other perspectives to this discussion, the attack in France. Now, joining us is the security expert, Tony Ofoyeton. Tony, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, I was asking a research fellow earlier on, why is France becoming vulnerable to attack more than other European countries?
Well, if I may understand what is happening in France, I think it's a product of the open border policy within the European community. France seems to be most receptive to the open border policy, and that is why you see that people from Belgium and all other countries, and when they come, they actually domicile more in the outskirts communities, which makes it also a little bit difficult to monitor their activities. Don't forget that France is a well-cameraed country with relatively good security network. But this set of people we are talking about, too, having understood the terrain of the country called France, they are also able to identify areas that their activities can be minimally, seen, so to say. And that is why you see that France today has a good number of Muslim population, without prejudice to the issue of religion here. The radicalism, of course, we all know that as it is now, many of the Europeans are being indoctrinated. That was one of the reasons why Donald Trump came with the idea of closed border policy, identify some countries.
From the timeline we had earlier, most of these attacks are people who are domiciled with, like you rightly mentioned, in the suburb of France. Some of them are even, they've naturalized, they are now French citizens as we speak. And if the security apparatus is as good as you painted it, how come they keep beating them to it all the time?
No, we can't say they keep beating them to it, because you look at insecurity. One thing you must understand is that crime cannot be eradicated. It can only be prevented and or minimized to the barest minimum. And when you talk about the barest minimum, instance like this is minimal compared to when you have to talk of an IED explosive in a well populated vicinity and all those stuff like that. So far so well, I think they've been able to frustrate.
Perhaps they've been able to manage that and understand the IEDs better than this one-on-one. That's the point I'm trying to make, really.
Yes.
If they've gotten that on check, then they should be able to get this on check as well.
No, don't forget that it's a country where guns are legalized. So the fact that you possess arms does not make you a terrorist. Normally.
Yes.
So even if you are going on the road and your vehicle is searched and there's evidence to show that, okay, the arm was discovered with you, it doesn't make you a criminal.
As far as you have the license.
As far as you have the license. Now that makes it relatively difficult. Don't forget that terrorism or terrorist is not written on the forehead.
But they have profiling.
Yes, they do. In actual fact, from what we saw here, the man was actually on the watch list of intelligence community. Now, a criminal is the person that is seeing you, he identifies you, he knows where you are part-time, you are seeing him, you are not able to identify him, you don't know what he wants to do at a particular... The similar incident happened in London. I'm sure you can remember the one that happened in London, where he ran into passers-by, went and as far as even shooting a police officer. Now, this also speaks volume of the fact that the terrorist group are looking for alternative. It's either we are able to get maximum impact or minimum impact, whichever type of impact will just be relevant. In those days, it would have been a ballistic missile, it would have been an explosive somewhere, and all those stuff like that. So as it is now, from immediately Donald Trump came in, some level of funding, route funding, I think it's been either stopped or suspended, as it were now.
So you agree that IS is broke? Some people have said
it's
they are
so
broke.
obvious.
Okay.
It's not a matter of, it's so obvious that it's not just broke, they are cashed down.
Okay.
You know, and if it goes like this, we are most likely going to see a better improvement.
Okay. All right, Tony, we'll come back to this. Let's go on a break and dwell more on other aspects of this discussion. Thanks for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. We're discussing security issues across the world right now. We've been dwelling on France from the latest attacks yesterday. And now we'll go into what's going on around the Korean Peninsula. Don't forget, we have Tony Ofoeton, a security expert, with us in the studio. Now, the U.S. is sending 2 more aircraft carriers towards the Korean Peninsula. President Donald Trump has already dispatched the USS Carl Vinson, powered by nuclear reactors, carrying almost 100 aircraft and accompanied by destroyers, a cruiser, and a submarine to the region.
Reports in South Korea claim the U.S. president is bolstering the deployment by sending the USS Ronald Reagan and the USS Nimitz to the Sea of Japan next week. It comes as Trump warned North Korea that it needs to keep its nuclear ambitions in check, telling dictator Kim Jong-un he has got to behave.
All right, let's get the views of people, because there are reactions across the world as to what these will turn out into, especially when tensions are escalating in the Korean Peninsula and people don't know how things are going to turn out and all of that. Let's bring in Foladele to give us a perspective on social media, how reactions are going on social. Yeah, morning. Good to see you. Really?
You want to go with it to the peninsula?
I don't think you want to be on that ship right now.
I want to be on it right now. I promise. I don't. Good morning, Tony. All right, so let's find out what people are saying online. Claudia says over 30,000 American soldiers overseas would be killed immediately if North Korea and US engage in war. Our lives mean nothing to President of the United States. Jenna Abrams says the U.S. may have sabotaged North Korea's failed missile test. Peace Pledge Union says no one will benefit from war between the U.S. and North Korea. People opposed to war, whatever country they live in, need to stand together. Jesse McLaren says if North Korea really wants to threaten Trump, they should fire copies of his tax returns at us. David Alakon says North Korea is slowly dragging the confrontation, not only with the United States, but with all America and the world. Vincent says USA is taunting the world for war. Simple as that. Nobody has thrown a rock for war but America. Oh, Tony, let me quickly ask you. Someone says no one will benefit from war if North Korea and the United States were to go to war, and our lives mean nothing to the President of the United States. Do you think that President Donald Trump has shown through his actions thus far that the lives of the Americans mean nothing to him?
Well, let me say that the American culture is that the average American life is very valuable to the Americans and the presidency. They can go to any length to make sure that the American life is safe. However, from what is happening in the Northern Korea Peninsula as it is now, I've not been able to see any outstanding advantage trying to beat the drum of war on whose advantage it will be. Because when we talk about war, there must be outright reason why you want to go to such war, why you want to deploy such heavy arms and ammunition for the purpose of preventing a country that is ambitious, militarily ambitious, to have its own nuclear power, become a nuclear power and all those stuff like that. It's neither here nor there, because the argument will be, after all, America, you too, you are a world power. You too, you have all these arms and ammunition. You have all these gadgets. Why would you prevent me from having same? I hope you understand that. I think that if not for the fact that the young boy there said, yes, I have to use it because as it is now, there has not been proper management of information from his own perspective, and I want to correlate it with partly
except
age.
Of course that he said that
yes.
the missile tests will continue, and that if the U.S. cannot intimidate them and they are ready for war all out,
yes.
if something is going to
you see, that is what would most likely happen to any country that has this ambition as it is. There's always this conspiracy, the world powers is pegged number, no addition. Why? So that we'll be able to control activities all over the world.
Okay.
And North Korea, having also understood this, knows that nobody gives you power. You have to take it. Nobody. And so that is why I won't also blame that boy. Because what he is doing is taking power for his people. And what America is also doing is to also reduce further threat to America as world captain.
So everyone is looking out for himself.
Very well, yes.
And I wonder if the world is ready for another World War, World War III, as the case may be. Yeah, certainly.
what do you know about it?
I know, but I do know something. Salami, we'll talk about this after. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, thank you, Fola. Yeah, we'll be going on the news update now, but frankly, just in 1 minute, is the world really ready for a World War III?
Well, there's never a time you are ready for war. And in most cases, reasons for war are so flimsy, inexcusable, and there is no good reason to have even started it. It's something that ordinarily should have ended on the round table discussion. But you go to war, kill, then come back to that same round table to have a discussion for the purpose of ending what ordinarily should have ended on the round table. And I think that is one of the areas that China is actually looking at. You see that China is foot dragging. America is trying to push China to act, but China is foot dragging.
But
the interests are different.
Thank you very much. That's
all right.
Just it.
Thank you very much, Tony Ofoyenta, for coming on the program. We'll be keeping a tab on this, and we have more talks, more points to talk about as we get along.
One of it
Thank you so much.
North Korea really attack South America? Do they have the ballistic missiles to do that?
Well,
those are questions. Really.
Exactly.